for years, there's been this whole thing about Errol Spence cleaning up his side of the street. That was a thing that you heard constantly through the years leading up to now. You know, uh, so when we talk about the side of the street, now that Errol Spence picked up the WBA belt off of Guys, you start to hear a little bit more now. His fans start to come out and say he been saying this all along that he was gonna clean up his side of the street and he was gonna come over there and see Terrence Crawford for his belt. But here's the problem. Here's the problem with that, man. The problem is, although Errol was on a quest to take the belts from his side of the street, how do we know the belts would have always remained on that side of the street? And then how do we know that Terrence Crawford was going to keep his WBO belt this long? What if Terrence Crawford would have lost his belt somewhere along the line, these 6 opponents? What if he'd have lost his WBO? Because we've been stringing this fight along. We've been like putting this fight off. But what if he would have lost it? Then there would probably be no Spence versus Crawford. What if one of those belts left that side of the street and went over to Top Rank for some reason? What if that happened? What if the WBC got taken from Sean Porter by somebody on another side of the street? You see what I mean? This is why the whole side of the street thing, it was a big gamble. And it wasn't a sure shot thing. What if, Errol scooped up his IBF first? And what if, like I said, the WBC ended up going somewhere else? And then what if the WBA didn't land in Ugas' lap? What would have happened with the WBA strap? Pacquiao had the WBA. Well, first it was Keith Thurman. Then he lost the belt to Manny Pacquiao. And then Pacquiao was inactive for all his time. And then I guess they elevated Ugas to the WBA champion. I guess I'm not sure if it was solidified, if he was elevated to super when he beat Manny Pacquiao, and it was just regular when they elevated him to championship status. But would Errol Spence have fought Manny Pacquiao earlier than he was supposed to have fought him and took the WBA strap? Or here's the thing about that. Keith Thurman still had his belt, and they saying Keith Thurman was trying to duck Errol Spence, and that's why they didn't fight, because they saying Errol Spence wanted to fight him earlier. But how come that fight didn't happen when Errol got the IBF and Keith Thurman had his WBA strap? Even he was I think they say he was inactive for a while too, before he came back and fought Manny Pacquiao, which he was. But my thing is that what I'm trying to really say is this whole side of the street thing, it's never a sure shot thing. So is this gonna be like what's gonna stall fights in the future from different fighters? Like, when different fights get built up, let's just say Shakur Stevenson, he has the WBO belt, and let's say Oscar Valdez ends up getting, let's just say the Shakur Stevenson Valdez fight wasn't gonna happen, and Oscar Valdez collected the IBF and he collected the WBA from other fighters at his division at 130, and then he started talking about, we know that Shakur has the WBO, but or he got one more belt to collect on so-called his side of the street, or let's say he was on a different side of the street, because he's on the Top Rank street as well. So let's just say he wasn't. Let's say he was PBC or something like that. I'm gonna collect these belts here first, and then after I collect these belts, I'm gonna go after Shakur Stevenson and take his belt. I get the strategy, But how do you know it's gonna line up exactly the way you think it is? I always found that really odd when they started talking about sides of the street as if they know for a fact those belts are gonna always remain on that side of the street. Is what I'm saying. I just never subscribed to that whole thing. I'm more of a, I guess, a traditionalist. Like, dudes, just make the fights, bro. Just make the fights. Enough of this side of the street stuff. But in Errol Spence, in Terrence Crawford's case, on one hand, if they would have fought early on, then there would be no fight for undisputed. And then on another hand, you didn't want the fight to marinate so long because there's so many things that could have possibly happened and derail the fight. Now, we are at a point right now where Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence should be next. And a lot of people don't think that's going to happen. A lot of people think they're going to throw Keith Thurman in front of Errol. They're going to put some other fighter, maybe Stanionis or somebody like that in front of Errol Spence because now he has the WBA now. So we don't know what's going to happen. But then there's another thing that people say Terrence Crawford shouldn't wait for Errol Spence. He should go in there sharp and take another fight before the Spence fight. Depending on what time that they're trying to schedule this Spence fight, is it smart for Terrence Crawford to take another fight before he goes into the undisputed matchup? Because if Errol takes another fight, I'm going to be honest. Excuse me, guys. Apologize for that. If Errol Spence takes a fight and if Terrence Crawford takes one, they are both at risk of possibly losing their belts. That could possibly happen. And then we won't get a undisputed between these guys. It won't happen. Or one of them will lose the belt, and then the other one won't have it anymore. Then there will be no fight for undisputed. So we don't know what's going to happen. I guess a lot of us are hyped because we see Errol saying he wants to fight. Bud responded saying, let's get it. But in all reality, bro, so many things can still happen. There's so much time that's still free. There's so many things that can still happen before that fight even materializes. If these two aren't going to go at each other next and other fights are going to be put in front of them, something's going to happen. Absolutely. And, here's my thing with the WBA was the missing link really to this thing. It was like the I don't know. I just find it really strange. Keith Thurman lost it, and Pacquiao took it from him. And then how come that, I just found it odd. Like Pacquiao been sitting on his ass all that time. And then they elevated it to old guys. Why didn't they just let the belt was vacant at the time, correct? If why did they just strip Keith Thurman or, strip the belt from him and then let somebody else fight for it? Let Bud fight for the WBA. Why didn't they do that? Why wasn't the WBA up for? Why couldn't Bob Arum line up something for Bud, whoever, to fight for the WBA strap? So then he could have went in there with two belts, and then Errol didn't have to worry about fighting old guys. And then maybe we could have got that fight sooner, man. I don't know. I just see shenanigans, bro. I see something getting in the way of this fight. I had some kind of something came to me about this fight where I just feel like something is gonna happen where it's gonna cause another delay for some reason, because that